Hey guys, welcome into Faith in Football. My name is Neil. Today's song, we're back to playing a song, The Comeback by Danny Gokey. Now, look, I'm not going to play the whole thing, of course, but look, I'm loving some Danny Gokey. Matter of fact, my sister gave me some birthday gift, brought me to tears. She got me concert tickets to his show here in Lafayette on September 30th. If you are in the area, I recommend that you go get some if they're not already sold out. They are general admission. They're going to be at Crossroads Church on September 30th. Show starts at 6 or at 7. Doors open at 6. So, what is today's show about? Comebacks. We're talking about players who come back from a disappointing season, or guys that you need to watch for that are making a comeback. Now, you might ask, well, that's great. I thought you get some scripture before the show. You do, and here it is. Now we're looking at Luke chapter 9, verse 23. And you might be thinking, well, what does this have to do with comeback? Well, here's the thing, is that the verse that I'm speaking of is the verse right after Jesus tells his disciples that he has to die but be risen on the third day, that he's going to go through a whole lot of hardship and heartache, and he's going to be rejected by people and the religious leaders at the time. And he asked, right before that, he asked them, who do the people say I am? And a lot of them were telling him that, oh, well, they think you're Elijah, or they think that you're John the Baptist brought back to life. They think that you're one of the older prophets that have risen from the dead. But he looks at them and he says, but who do you say I am? And Peter looks at him and he says, you're the Messiah sent from God. Now he tells them, don't say anything, because the people have to come to that on their own. Don't you tell them who I am. They have to understand who I am. And that's what he's telling us today too. In chapter 23, he turns to the crowd and he says, if any of you wants to be my followers, you must take up your cross daily and follow me. See, in fantasy football, it's a day in, day out commitment to the game. Every day there's something happening. Every day, if you want to be good at this, if you want to have success, you have to do it every day. You have to be up on the news, the notes, the things happening around the league. Well, here's the thing. Jesus is telling us that if we want to be his followers, we have to give up ourselves. We have to give up that selfish, characteristic of human life, that it's not all about us. It has to be all about him. And if it's not all about him, then we can't call ourselves followers. Because if we're following him, that means we're not following anything else. But if there are things in our life that we're going after more than we're going after the Lord, then we're following that thing. And fantasy football is awesome. I love fantasy football, as you can tell, but it's not my focus. It's not the biggest thing in my life. Okay. I try the best I can to every day follow the Lord. There are times I stumble. There are times that I stray, but I'm always able, through the grace of God, to come back to the cross. If you stumble today, if you've been down a a wrong path, if you've gone where you shouldn't have gone, I'm here to tell you today, if I can turn my life around and come back, so can you. Okay. So I hope that that verse is bringing you comfort. I hope it's bringing you joy. I hope it's bringing you a little closer to the Lord. And remember that in your daily walk, I want you to remember to always know that you can always look up and see the cross, and it's there for you. God is there for you. Fellow believers are here for you. So I hope that's some comfort, that's some joy today as we head into today's episode. As always, my name is Neil. Welcome into Faith in Football, and my sponsors of the show, as always, Zia of Lafayette. Go down there throughout the month of August. Mention that you heard about them on Faith in Football, and you get your free appetizer with purchase of any entree. They got some phenomenal food. The duck empanadas are die for. Trust me, my kids love them. The wife does too. But go down there, check them out. When you get that free appetizer with your purchase of a entree, you might want to make that entree that trout mock shoe they got going on. It is killer. You can find them on Duce Road behind the Grand Theater on Johnson Street in Lafayette, or in front of Red Laurel's on Duce Road. If you want to call them up, make an order, you can call them at 406-0013. You can also find them on Waiter or DoorDash. Hey, you don't want to get out? I get it. Sometimes it gets hot down here. Sometimes it's raining like all get out, and you don't want to get out there. So I understand. Call them up, make an order, have somebody else deliver it for you, okay? But when you go down there, say hi to Leonard and Heath and all the people down there at Zia, and tell them Neil sent you with Faith in Football, okay? Also, if you got a sweet tooth, you drive around Lafayette, you happen to find yourself in the Youngsville area on 627 Lafayette Street off the Youngsville Highway, you can find Keller's Bakery of Youngsville. Also, if you're surfing the web, they're on Facebook too, and they take orders through Facebook. So if you want some good pastries, some awesome sweet treats, definitely go down and check out Keller's Bakery in Youngsville, 627 Lafayette Street. And if you mention that you heard about them on Faith in Football, you get 2 free mini cupcakes. Those are awesome. Nice little snack when you got a little sweet hitting you. Check them out. All right. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about comebacks. I'm going to give you 2 receivers, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs to keep an eye on. That some of these guys, look, they were either injured last year, and you might not remember how good they can be or are. And a couple of them have switched teams. So you might be thinking, I don't know about this. And you might be overlooking them when you do your draft. But I want you to keep these 2 quarterbacks in mind when you're drafting. Number 1, Joe Burrow. Yes, I gave my boy Nick a hard time. I would still give him a hard time for taking him as the first quarterback off the board in the first round with the number 7 pick. Yes, that's a legendary, mess up in the draft that he will never live down. And that's just how we roll. But Joe Burrow, coming back off injury, he's supposed to be 100%. He's been looking 100% in camp. He's got his buddy Jamar Chase from college back with him in Cincinnati. Not to mention T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, got Joe Mixon back. So we've seen Joe Burrow prove to be who we thought he was going to be. We thought he was going to be a great quarterback. He has the potential to be a great quarterback and be outstanding for fantasy. They got him all the tools around him. They've upgraded on the O-line, but their defense still, it just sucks. It just does. I can't put it any other way. It's just a bad defense, okay? So remember, when you have a bad defense, that's good for fantasy football. Whether you're playing them or whether they are yours, it doesn't matter, because if you're playing them, then you can score on them. If they're yours, that means the other team's scoring on them, and that your team has to score to keep up. So for Joe Burrow, that's awesome, because it means he's going to be chucking the ball all over the place to multiple receivers, and we're going to have to wait and see who his favorite is going to be. Probably already got an inkling it's going to be Ja'Marr Chase. At least I do. I'm pretty much trying to get Ja'Marr Chase in any mock draft that I do, just to see how my team looks with him. Next guy I'm talking about, Sam Darnold, newly acquired quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sam Darnold, really? Man, he's horrible. Okay, cut the man some slack. He was with the Jets, and he was with Adam Gase. I mean, how many times do we have to see guys leave Adam Gase and blow up? We saw it with Kenyon Drake. We saw it with Ryan Tannehill. I mean, people get away from this guy, and they become rock stars. It's that simple. This is the first time that we're seeing Sam Darnold away from Adam Gase, away from the Jets, in an environment where he's got a familiar face in Robbie Anderson. He's got talent with DJ Moore. He's got the best running back that fantasy football could ask for coming back in Christian McCaffrey. What more can you want? Plus, if I'm not mistaken, he's reunited with his college coach, Matt Jarrell. He is with him in Carolina, so he knows how to use him. He knows what he's about. And look, as old as Sam Darnold seems, he's still a young quarterback. He's still learning his way around, and we're still finding out what he can really be. So I think that Sam Darnold in this environment, and remember, I preach aside from the word. My message for here on the fantasy side of things is the environment makes the player, not the stats. Okay. So yes, his stats might not be all that great when you look at him. He might have ups and downs, maybe erratic, but I'm telling you, this change of environment is going to help Sam Darnold tremendously. Okay. So somebody to keep an eye on. Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, you're looking at it as backup quarterbacks. Okay. I would not recommend Sam Darnold as your starter, but he is definitely somebody to keep an eye on and to have on your bench when the time comes. Okay. Now, Austin Ekeler, Awesome Ekeler, as I refer to him via the fantasy footballers. Hey guys, how y'all doing? Listen, Austin Ekeler, phenomenal fantasy back, but he got dinged up last year. Now, came back. You see him with Justin Herbert. This is the thing. This is Herbert's second year, okay? So going into year 2, we don't have to worry about a stacked box against a rookie quarterback. He's proven that he can be that great quarterback that they thought he was going to be when he got drafted. He came in, kind of weird situation where he came in. He got a punctured lung in Tyrod Taylor as they were trying to numb his ribs before game 2, and he never started another game. Justin Herbert comes in, takes advantage of his opportunity. The rest is history. So Austin Ekeler coming in with a second-year quarterback that has already proven himself. He's not going to face stack boxes. He's highly involved in the pass game. So this guy, don't forget about Ekeler. There are some people who are going to forget about him because he didn't have the great year that a lot of people thought he probably should have. Let's see. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you guys, and normally you guys know I don't do this, but I'm going to give you a little bit of stats here. I know, don't have a heart attack on me. I know I'm giving you stats. Oh my God. But listen, Austin Ekeler, And you guys know I get most of my stats from the Fantasy Pros. Those guys are awesome. I love those guys as well. But I'm a big follower of the Fantasy Footballers. Let's see. This is how far down I have to go, guys. Did I overstep him? Yep, I did. Okay. So he wound up as number 30, as running back 35 last year. Okay. So he only had 111 points as opposed to, let's see, the number 12 was Kenyon Drake with 167. Now, I definitely think that Ekeler can be that top 12, maybe even top 10 running back this year. He's being drafted really high. So there are people out there who haven't forgotten how great he can be. But I don't want you guys to lose focus and be thinking, you're going to look at stat sheets and go, man, he was horrible last year. What happened? I'm scared off. Don't worry about it. Draft him with all confidence. Okay. So the next guy up is, and I really, really struggled with this list, guys. Let me tell you, because there are so many people out there who had off years that I think could be awesome. But I was going to put Damien Harris on this list, but Damien Harris is on everyone's list. Okay, he is really up and coming. But one guy I don't want you to forget about is Joe Mixon. Now, I spoke earlier about Mixon when I talked about Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon got dinged up. He was hurt a lot. And look, a lot of the blame for the thought process behind Joe Mixon, perception, if you will, is because of the medical staff with Cincinnati. Those people, they were like, well, he can start this week. No, he's not going to start this week. Oh, he's going to start next week. Oh, no, he's not going to start next week. They went back and forth so much. It drove me nuts. So much that I had to trade him. Okay. I could not stand the back and forth. It just drove me nuts. I'd rather not deal with it. Okay. And turns out I was right. He never started another game. So it kind of hurts you there at the end. And in fantasy football, you guys are going to experience this. You're going to have a lot of what we call burns. There are players that are going to just burn you that you're never going to touch again. One player that burned me last year that I'm still feeling it this year is Julio Jones. I know he's a great wide receiver, but he hasn't been great in a couple of years. Okay. Maybe with a new change of venue, maybe becoming the number 2 on the team will change things a little bit, but I'll let someone else deal with that, not me, especially with the Titans. He's on a run heavy team. So the potential there for a really stellar year was opposite of AJ Brown. I don't see, but I digress. Like I said, Joe Mixon this year, I'm loving the breakout potential of Joe Mixon. And I say breakout, comeback would be a better word. And that's why he's on this list. And that's why this episode is entitled Comebacks. Okay. Because I think that Joe Mixon can come back. I think he can come back strong. So keep an eye on him. He's definitely somebody worth drafting and worth keeping an eye on. Okay. So let's see. Now, these next 2 guys are former teammates. And once I mention one, you're going to get, well, I tell you what, I'll mention the one that left and you can guess which one stayed. I'm talking about Sammy Watkins. Look, the only reason that I'm bringing Sammy Watkins up here is because he has been a disappointment for fantasy owners over the past couple of years. I know that the perception of Sammy is that he's got the potential, but he never comes through. Now, here's the thing. He's with the most run-heavy offense in the league in Baltimore. Not a whole lot of targets to go around because that's not what Lamar Jackson does. Okay. But if you read in between the lines about what happened this season, then you'll see that they brought in another wide receiver. They signed Sammy Watkins. They're trying to get Lamar Jackson to be a little more of a passer as opposed to a runner, because they want to keep this guy healthy, basically. Okay, and that a rushing quarterback is less healthy than one that stands in the pocket. Just ask Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger. Neither one of these guys are rushers, but they have an extremely long career. Okay, so they can be a great pocket passer. And Lamar, if you look at him in college, he did do quite a bit of passing. So he has the ability, he has the talent to do it. It's just, how are they going to use him? I think that they're trying to give him an environment where he can showcase that arm. He has the ability. He can do it. He's just got to have the tools around him to do it. Look, Hollywood got hurt. Bateman, Rashad Bateman, their rookie wide receiver, he's a little dinged up. So the only one available besides Mark Andrews is Sammy Watkins. So when you're the only one sharing a pie with one other person, half of that pie is pretty good. Okay. So Sammy Watkins, if you want to take a late flyer on him, he's going to be going later in the rounds, but he's definitely somebody who could pay off big in the long run. Okay. Now, of course, I'm talking about a Chiefs wide receiver next, but which one? Am I talking about Tyreek? No, because Tyreek finished as the wide receiver 2 behind Davante Adams. So who am I talking about? That's right, Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman can be that guy. Now, the reason that he made this list for me was the fact that Tyreek Hill came up with what they're calling foot tendonitis. Now, I'm not really sure if that's what it is or if Andy Reid's just throwing words out here and trying to, make himself sound smarter than what he is. I know he's not a doctor. I'm not one. But if there are issues with Tyreek Hill that will keep him off the field or maybe limited in what he can do, and they either don't want to tell you or they're not really sure, Mecole Hardman could be a very good backup in this spot. And you can probably get him really, really cheap. So those are some guys that I want you guys to keep an eye on as we move forward with this season. Okay. Remember, we've got the Hall of Fame game coming up tonight. We've got preseason that's going to be opening up here shortly. So keep an eye on the injuries, keep an eye on the performances, definitely keep an eye on the hype and the speak around the league and around coming out of camp. Remember, if they're talking negative, you definitely want to listen to that. If they're talking positive, kind of take it with a grain of salt. And remember who they're talking about. They could be hyping up a player for trade. They could be hyping up somebody because they want to get rid of them. You never know. Okay, because it's always better to put a shine on that old car if you want to move it really quick. Okay, you don't want it all dingy and whatnot when you go to advertise it. Just a thought. Okay, so that's it for this episode. I know it was kind of a short one, but next time I'm going to have a mock draft customized for one of our listeners. Okay, if you want to be one of those subscribers, down the bottom, subscribe, like, and share. Leave me a comment and let me know where you want to see a mock draft to help you guys out with your fantasy career. Okay, till next time, I'm Neil. This is Faith in Football. God bless, and we'll see you guys next time.